So we went to explore, we created a new GPT, and we're going to hit configure. And now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit before we start this, okay? So the framework I'm going to give you is, I really like it. It's called the Voice Framework. It was introduced to me by this amazing speaker. Her name's Molly Mahoney, and she spoke at the GHL Summit in October in Dallas. She has a great book called AIify Your Business. She's trademarked that term, which I think is really cute. And she's like an adorable woman who's in this like sparkly suit with gray hair dyed purple. She's very cute. All right, let's start with what is a custom GPT and how is it different than just how you may have used chat GPTs before. So a custom GPT is essentially a specialized version of ChatGPT. It's a small data set that you create, that you build within the ChatGPT ecosystem. It's designed with a specific skill set and a specific knowledge base that you decide. So it allows the GPT to perform tasks with greater accuracy and relevance to what you're asking it to do than a general AI model when you're just using regular chat. So this is advantageous to you for a few reasons. The first is consistent outputs. So if you're always using the same knowledge base to generate your newsletters, for example, you're going to get more consistent output than if you just use general ChatGPT. It's also more efficient because a big part of the prompt is going to be over here in what we give it for the instructions, which is the bulk of what we'll be spending time on today. And so when you then ask it to write this newsletter, it already has a lot of detailed instructions, more than you would ever normally give it when you write a regular prompt interacting with chat. It's also specialized. So today I'm really going to be focusing on using this for newsletters because that's a big thing that we encourage all of our super docs to do. Everyone who has a cash pay practice or who's looking to increase visibility and new leads for your practice, more revenue for your practice, you should be sending out a newsletter every week, one that goes to all your existing customers. That may be or may not be the same one that goes out to all of your prospective customers who've never yet worked with you. And then there should be another version that goes out to all of your referral sources. And you can use your custom GPT to very easily, from the same prompt or the same idea that you have, generate all three of those newsletters. And you can use a CRM like SuperDoc Tech to then schedule that and have it sent out to your lists. And the fourth is institutional knowledge. This is really basically where you're going to give it your brand voice, your secret sauce. How you speak and how you convey the information is going to be tied into everything this custom GPT generates. So instead of sounding like you can kind of spot from a mile away when people are using generic GPT to make like their social media posts, and it's always like a couple lines here, 15 emojis, a checklist, and then some other things. It's ChatGPT. That person didn't write that. So you can make your custom GPT write things like you write them. Like I give instructions like do not use M dashes. Those are those long dashes that chat loves to use. Do not use emojis. And then the more information you give it in the knowledge base that's based on your speaking and writing style, the better it gets over time at giving you outputs that also mimic your natural speaking and writing style. So it's much more valuable for personalized outputs that you might want to use in your newsletters, in your social media post descriptions. There's another, this might be of interest to you, Inna, for what you were doing because you're doing more clinical stuff with it. And we'll talk about this a little bit. You do have to be careful because although, especially on the business plans, the information you put in the knowledge base is supposed to be contained and not shared with the rest of the world, and the knowledge base that general chat has to peruse when it's searching for things, I don't think we can assume that anything is safe, right? So we have to be careful as physicians using this. You never want to upload anything that has patient identifying data into your knowledge base or into your chat conversations with a custom GPT even. So make sure that you're cognizant of that. But what my husband uses this for, which I think is brilliant, he's a geriatric psychiatrist, and he works with Dale Bredesen, who wrote the book, The End of Alzheimer's. He is essentially a researcher who has done research for the last 30 plus years looking at all of the pathways that ultimately can lead a brain to end up with the pathology that is Alzheimer's disease. And so my husband David works with people who have concerns about developing Alzheimer's dementia because of risk factors or parental history, or who have the beginnings of mild cognitive impairment. And he essentially is like a holistic physician for them, running labs that most doctors don't run, looking at all of the research data we have about the 30 plus factors that can contribute to pathology that ultimately will lead to Alzheimer's disease. And he and some colleagues have written multiple, I think he's written like over 200 articles, he's done research. So all of that is fed into his knowledge base. And when he gets the labs from his patients, he takes those de-identified labs and he puts them into his custom GPT, and it gives him an output report that he has trained it to be customized to do, that's so extensive and exhaustive and amazing, because it really tells people like step by step, like you have these risk factors for mold. We recommend you look in your house for these things. You may want to buy these kinds of things. It's crazy. And it saves him so much time. Before he had the GPT, he literally was manually going through, and he had like little snippets that he had written in Word documents for like what he would recommend for people who had mold toxins, what he would recommend for people who had vitamin deficiencies, what he would recommend for people who had vascular disease on their MRIs. But now the GPT does that all automatically, and it's a huge time saver for him. I use mine as the parent doctor for writing my newsletters in batches, and I do 6 weeks at a time, and then I schedule that in SuperDoc Tech. So it's a huge time saver for me. The real leverage is if you create a GPT and then you create SOPs to train your virtual assistants to use it for you, then sky's the limit for your productivity. But this hour, I hope you will see like how valuable this could be for you. So just introducing that, can you guys all put in the chat like how you think you might use this for your own practice or your own business or your own personal life, honestly, even if it's like you could use this for any number of things, even like writing family letters or newsletters or like holiday cards. You could use it for personal purposes too. You could use it for meal prepping or making, I always have this fantasy that somehow I would be able to be super efficient with grocery shopping and use the same ingredients from Monday's leftovers and Tuesday's meals like lunch ladies used to do in the school cafeteria. But I think ChatGPT and a custom GPT could help me do that. So put in the chat if you have thoughts about how you would use this. Newsletter SOPs, nice. Honey-do list, I love it. Webinars, post-training courses, course documentation. Yep, it can write your scripts for webinars. It can write your scripts for speeches, keynote speeches. Awesome. All right, so you guys all have great ideas. Excellent. So continuing on my slides. So the effective prompt matters because a generic prompt is going to give you generic results. And we've all probably experienced that when we've tried to use ChatGPT. Even a powerful AI tool, if you don't tell it this voice protocol, it's just going to kind of do its best, but it's guessing what to do. So we want to use this voice protocol that Molly came up with to give the instructions to our custom GPT. There's 5 elements. It's an acronym, voice. So the V is for vocation. We're going to define the exact role and the domain of knowledge that this GPT we're making should embody. Don't make this the GPT for everything. So some of you put webinars, SOPs, newsletters, pick one and just make this custom GPT the newsletter bot or this GPT the SOP bot, okay? Don't try to make it do multiple things. The purpose of a custom GPT is to give it a very narrow focus. And then the objective, we're going to clarify the specific purpose, goals, and outcomes that it should achieve. We'll do these each one by one. So just let me kind of give you the overview first. The third thing is insights. We're going to share critical business, audience, and organizational context so it knows who are the outputs for. If you're writing this for patients in general, you probably want to have it be at a 5th grade reading level and below for the outputs, right? If you're writing this for physicians, it could be at a college reading level and above. But actually for marketing, even as physicians, it's better if we keep things short and sweet and simple, right? The simpler, the better. 4 is communication. This is where we establish the voice, the tone, the personality, the soft qualities of the outputs. And execution, this is where we specify the output formats, the structures, and the delivery standards. So if you are writing a newsletter, this is where we would tell it no more than 500 words, for example. If you're writing a blog post, it might be no more than 5,000 words, for example. All right, so let's start with V. I want you first now to come over here and decide, name your GPT. So I'm going to call this like SuperDoc Tech Newsletter Generator. All right, and then for the description, I'm actually going to call it SDT for short, 500-word newsletters. Okay, so this is what you will see when you open it up. It'll show this and this down here. And you should know when you create this GPT, you'll be able to just use it yourself privately, or you can create GPTs that you share. So again, the sky's really the limit. You can create GPTs here that you share with your patients. So Inna, you were talking about weight loss recommendations. If you want to put all of your amazing knowledge that you have as a physician into a GPT and then create a GPT you can share with your patients, you can do that. And then they'll be able to talk as if they're talking with you, but it'll be your brain downloaded into this custom GPT.
In
In our
any
case,
language, right? In any
what's that?
in different languages as well.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Um, So yeah, I think ChatGPT is pretty much a polyglot. So I think you can have it do whatever you want. And even like translate, like you, again, this would be like in the instructions, but if you need to be outputting your newsletters in English, French, and Spanish and Mandarin, you can probably have it do that. And then each output is going to give you all of those different languages. So let's start by giving it its vocation. So you are a writing expert and marketing expert who helps us create a weekly newsletter that goes to physicians who have not. Sorry, I'm just going to talk, but I'm going to let you guys do this. So look at these key questions and come up with an example like this that's going to be the first paragraph of what we tell it. I'll stop talking to myself. I've finished my voice. Do you guys need more time? Or are you ready with voice?
Is this something you could always come back to and
Oh,
add?
Can
you
you
can
read
edit
yours
this.
just really quick? It's kind of small. I'm
Do you want me to read
just
mine?
as
Yeah,
an
I said you're a
example.
writing expert and marketing expert who helps us create a weekly newsletter that goes to physicians who have not yet decided whether they need a CRM tool. You write clearly with authority and, whoops, I should say with deep understanding of their pain points because you work closely with the founders who are both cash pay physicians. I'm going to say founders of SuperDoc Tech. Your newsletter helps physicians see how AI and automations can scale their businesses by making new clients appear regularly without having to spend on advertising or do more work. You write professionally with appropriate deprecating humor at times and in an inspiring tone to let physicians who may be experiencing burnout as they grow know that there is a better, more efficient way, and SuperDoc Tech can guide them to find it. So that's my B. All right, then it wasn't the clearest V, honestly. What is the questions? What domain expertise does it have? Writing and marketing expert. Which methodology should it favor? I actually think you use current client wins to illustrate.
I think, Marissa, someone wanted you to share your instructions. Is that what you wanted? Or just, did you want the text? Is it Inaya? You can unmute yourself.
It's
Can-
in a.
Oh, Ina, I'm sorry. Did you want
Yes,
the
it's,
You want this whole copy?
yeah, it's
All right.
amazing, you know.
I'll put it in the chat.
Kudos to you. It's pretty cool.
All right. But there's an example over here too. You're a conversion rate optimization specialist. So this would be like for someone who wants this to run and give it copy for ads, right? With expertise in e-commerce checkout flows, customer psychology, and A/B testing methodologies. We're not doing something so technical with a newsletter generation, right? Like, but we still want it to understand kind of the psychology and the pain points, and like the newsletter isn't just to give information, it's also to like make people feel understood and like we get it. And your newsletter should be the same. If you want your ideal customer to understand that you're the doctor who really understands whatever it is that you treat, whether it's women in perimenopause and brain fog or weight gain, or if you're an older adult. My husband works with older adults who are worried about losing their memory as they age, right? So you want to let it know who you are in this voice. This is the expertise that it has. This is the methodologies it should favor. This is the problems it should solve, and what professional standards apply. So, like you might want to say like you never use political or off-color jokes, you stay professional, you are a expert in your field. Those kinds of things are the things you would want to put under this V. All right, so moving on to O. This is the objective. We want to now tell it what is the purpose. Oops, sorry, are you guys seeing that? Purpose and goals. So we want to define the success metrics. What is going to be a successful output for this custom GPT? What is it going to help you achieve? So we want to say you will generate newsletters when prompted for 3 audiences. This one I think is a little bit easier. Let me know when you're ready. I'll put mine in the chat again. You guys good? All right, moving on to the eyes insights. So we want to equip this GPT with a deep understanding of our business, the target audience, the unique market position, who are your ideal customers, what are their pain points, where do they go to get their data sources, how are they trying to solve the problem now, what's working for them, what's not, right? So give as much detail as possible about your ideal customer. And the more specific you can be, the better your outputs are going to be. This is hard for a lot of small businesses, especially for physicians, because by nature, we are all caring people, and it feels bad to say, I'm just going to help this person, just speak to this person, because I also know there's this other person and this other person. But the marketing experts say all your messaging should be to one very narrow avatar. Speak to that person, and that's the person that you're going to serve. So if you're a generalist working in a hospital, you do not have this privilege to choose who you work with, right? You're going to see whoever comes through the doors. But if you've started your own practice, you do have the privilege of deciding who do you want to work with. And there may be more than one avatar, that's fine, but this newsletter should just be for one avatar. So give it the insights that it needs to be able to focus on that one avatar, everything about it. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes while I work here too.
You're muted.
I was talking to my husband.
Sorry, guys. All right. So did you guys get that all done? Sorry, I wrote a lot, so it took me a long time. All right. So the next one is communication. This is where we're going to tell it kind of the voice. So you may want the outputs to be short sentences with breaks in between. You may want it to be like I like reading those kinds of newsletters. That is not how I write. It's not my style. So it wouldn't feel authentic to me to have those kind of bullet point things. Although I really admire people who can just kind of have those succinct thoughts. And I could train it to be that way if I wanted to. But this is where you'll tell it how formal and academic should it sound? Should the sound be like your buddy, your friend, your colleague? Should it be really, caring and nurturing if you're the doctor talking to your patients? Should it be authoritative? Should it be technical? And then is it innovative? Is it playful? Are you funny? And then let it know. Don't use jargon. If there are certain preferred terminologies you want it to use, have it do that. If you want it to be very inclusive, have it do that. If you want it to only use mild humor with no risk for anything that would be offensive to anyone, make sure that you explicitly tell it that. I think generally ChatGPT is trained to be very polite, so it's unlikely it's going to come out with some off-color jokes or anything, but still. And then here too, this is where you would tell it what level do you want it to write at? Do you want to write this at like a 5th grade reading level or 6th grade reading level or college reading level? Okay, so go ahead and give it the prompt for communication. All right, I'll show you what I wrote here. Oops. All right, and the last one is execution. So this is where you're going to tell it exactly what it should give you. Do you want this to be a table? Do you want it to be 3 separate newsletters? I've given it 3 separate newsletters to output each time. Do you want it to be in English and another language? Are there certain required sections that you want the newsletter to have? And you can give it verbatim what you want in there. If there are examples that you want it to emulate, you can say, look at the knowledge base at so-and-so's newsletter. One person I love their newsletter is James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. Are any of you on his newsletter list? Like the 1, 2, 3? No? It's 3, 2, 1 from James Clear. And it's like 3 thoughts from me, 2 quotes from others, and 1 like action you can take today. It's just very succinct, very neat. It actually doesn't, I read it just more than I read any other newsletter because I know what to expect with it. I just know it's going to be something that's like uplifting and like make me say, oh, that's interesting, or I love this guy. It's not that it's, yeah. I think I wish that I could come up with a newsletter that's so consistently valuable. I think ours is great. Mona, you've been writing our newsletters and they've been awesome. I also really like kind of personal newsletters. So although we are creating this custom GPT that's going to help us write the structure, when I have my GPT make my newsletters for the parent doctor, I give it very personal prompts. Like I say, I want you to write a newsletter that tells parents the importance of understanding that we don't always have to get it right, and that, if you're batting 200, you're absolutely a good enough parent. And I want you to tell the story of how my husband and son just went to the World Series game last week. And it will therefore like include a personal story. So it doesn't sound just like some generic bot, right? So in your prompt, you can make it personalized, but then it's going to be using all of this information you've given it to create the product, and then you can tweak the product. So again, the goal isn't to get a final output that's exactly what you're going to cut and paste into a newsletter, but to get something that's like 90% of the way there that you then can, in just a couple of minutes, tweak. All right, so go ahead and give it the execution, structure, and delivery by telling it what it is that it's giving you. Is it giving you a newsletter of a certain length? Is it giving it in certain languages? If you have examples that you want to emulate and you know what the file name is, you'll want to say like file name blank in the knowledge base, because we're going to upload files in a minute. And this is an example. Okay. Oh, hey, Dean, I didn't see you sneak in there. Welcome. All right. Here, I'll put this in the chat too, because I've been doing that. We're almost done. So the last thing we need to do is upload some examples or some data. So this is the knowledge base. Oh, and then, actually, the last thing you want to do after you've done this VOICE, you want to say, whenever I upload something to the chat and tell you, add this to the knowledge, please add the info as a file in the knowledge. So make sure you add this always, always, always at the end of your instructions. The reason is, and I'll show you at the end, after we create this GPT, it's going to be there in the menu on the left as your custom GPT. If in the future you want to upload new information. So for example, my workflows in the Parent Doctor are every time I do a presentation for my book club, every time I have a podcast that I do, every time I'm a guest on someone's podcast, every time I write a script for a speaking event, every time I write an article or a blog, I have my virtual assistants feed my GPT that new data. So it gets better and better at understanding my voice. And in order to do that, you can either do what we did here, which is like click it, open it, edit it, come down here, upload files, and upload it into the knowledge base, which is fine, but it's like 4 clicks that you don't need to do. Otherwise, you can just open the GPT and chat like you would with ChatGPT and say, add this to the knowledge, paste, and put whatever that transcript is from your newsletter, from your talk, from your podcast. Click enter, and it'll say, got it, uploaded to your knowledge base. So I'll say, this was because it'll give me my output for my newsletter. I tweak it and I change it, and then I feed it and I say, this was the newsletter on this date, and I feed it to it. So it gets better and better over time at knowing how I write, how I tell my stories, and what I do. Does that make sense? All right. So with 1 or 2 pieces of something that you have, if you have some writing, this could be, depending on, again, what you're using this GPT for. If you're using it for clinical purposes, it could be articles like PDFs, because GPT can make sense of those in no time. So it can be, scientific data, publications. It could be your writing examples. Let me show you a trick for all of you who don't know how to quickly get a transcript. I think I showed this to our members recently. If I go here, do you see my screen still? Am I going to a new tab? Okay. So if you have any videos and you want to get the transcript, maybe you were a guest on a podcast, maybe you have a podcast, maybe you've recorded things for a course, you can get the transcripts for that without paying any money by having a YouTube channel. It's free to have one. And then anytime you are on a YouTube video, so you would come in here, create your channel, and then you go to create upload videos, you would upload the video, right? And then it's going to show here on your channel. So then if you go here, when you open a video, oops, there's always,
Congratulations on joining Super Doctor.
oops.
I seriously think in a few months you are going to realize this is the best decision you've made in
Stop. All right. So when you come here on any YouTube video, there's a description. You click more, you scroll down, and it says transcript. And then you click show transcript. And then now I'm going to copy this. Oops, too much. Control Z. And now I'm going to put it into a Google Doc, because I can't just feed that into ChatGPT as a thing. So I'm going to say new document. So, all right. So I'm literally just going to paste it here. And then I'm going to download this, and I'm going to feed it to my GPT as a knowledge. And you don't have to worry about the formatting of a transcript like that from YouTube. ChatGPT knows to take away all the weird like timestamps and stuff and just focus on the content itself. So what we will be training our VAs to do is basically take all of our podcasts. This is our first episode. So if I click here and I click here, I can do the same thing here. So I can come down here, click more, show transcript. Now I'm going to copy and paste all this. It's a little clunky. If you want to pay, you can also pay for a software called Descript. I really like Descript. It will do this as well, but honestly, Descript takes longer. So in some ways, it's nicer just to do it this way. I'll paste this here. And then,
Griselda's asking anywhere to add our website. Griselda, I added mine in the same body. I just said, this is my Instagram handle. This is my website. Please look it over for reference.
On the instructions.
yeah, so instructions here, you can say, please view superdoctech.com for info about our company and what we do. So you could just put that anywhere in your instructions, right? I think in the voice, I'm also going to tell it to be inclusive and warm. Go ahead and upload that one too. So you want to give it, again, there's no limit to the knowledge you can put in here, and you should constantly be adding whatever you've produced to it so that it gets better and better. But that's it. So now we basically are going to just click create. And then here is where you choose whether you're sharing it with other people in your workspace. We have a business plan. So I could share this with you, Mona, although I don't think you've joined ours. But then you can make it public. So this is where if you wanted to create one for your patients, you could then share the link with them. You can put it in the GPT store, because when we went to GPTs, remember we saw all of those GPTs, you could let it be something that anyone could find. I don't know if you can monetize this. Does anyone know? Like, are you selling a GPT? I think
So
it's all
where did
free.
you, after you added those, and what did you do?
Sorry, so I added a couple documents here,
Mhm.
and then you can't put videos, you can't put audio files.
Okay.
So it has to be like PDFs, documents, text files, CSV files. You can
Okay.
upload all of those things. And then you click create. So
Create,
that's going to
okay.
make it happen. And that's where it says, do you want to share it with other people in your workspace? Is it invite only? Is it public? Is it anyone with the link? I'm going to say anyone in our workspace with the link can chat. And if you say can view settings, then they'll be able to see the settings. I don't know if they can edit the settings. I don't think so. I'm just going to say can chat because that's all they need to do. Update. So now we should see an SDT newsletter generator GPT. If I say view the GPT, it's going to bring me there. There you go. So now it's going to show up here under my list. You should have yours as well. And then next time you want to run a newsletter or whatever you want to do, you'll just give it the prompt here, and it'll give you whatever you've asked it for. The 3 different ones is what I asked it for. You guys excited?
Go back to, I was uploading the file. So do we need to do anything with conversation starters?
No, you don't. So conversation starters is more like if this is going to be a public facing GPT, that's more to get people, like if they don't know how to use it, it would be what it shows. And you may have used other people's GPTs to have this. It'll show like a few questions here that you just click it and it gets the conversation going. So it would be like, how can you help me? A lot of people who are like business coaches will have these kinds of things, and it'll be like a sales marketing tool where they'll say, you could use this actually, Griselda, for your like executive functioning stuff. So you could have essentially the prompts here like, ask me about my business, or for like urology with kids, like ask me how, or guide me on how you can help me understand my kids' urological symptoms. Like you could basically have like your leading question to someone if they were interacting with this as if it were your brain. For your VAs, it could be give me a newsletter in Spanish on the following topic. And then when you click that, it'll be like, sure, tell me more about the topic. It'll start being ChatGPT and like talking with you. So it's just like to get the conversation started. But you don't
And then
have
how
to
do you
have
move
that. I
forward?
don't usually use that.
What was the next step then? So I uploaded my documents. And then I
Uploaded the documents, and then in the top right, it should say create. And when you click
There
create,
we go.
then you can, and again, these are settings that you can always change later, because now I can come in here.
I just want to say this was such a great exercise.
Good,
Even
I'm glad.
for
Yeah.
being your business partner, I benefited a lot from this because sometimes you just have to sit and do this work and it's not easy to just make yourself do it. So I'm really
Once
grateful.
you do it, I think it is so simple, but the instructions, I actually found this, my GPTs are much better now that I had this experience of learning Molly Mahoney's instructions because her voice, that method, I think is so helpful. Otherwise, I had gotten trained to do this and it was kind of like, just tell it what you want it to do. And I had like one little paragraph and it was giving me stuff that was okay. But again, the more that you give it the details and the instructions, and we have a lot of characters that we can put there. I don't know what the limit is, but there's a lot of information you can give it to guide it. And then the more knowledge you put as well, the better it gets.
Yeah, I
So,
think feeding the chat GPT would be a great task for a VA to just
yes,
grab the transcripts of all your YouTube videos and put it
yes.
in there. But it's got to be maintained and kept up to
It
date.
has to be an SOP that this is a weekly thing that you do. So, I would encourage you, as you start to use this first for writing your newsletters or whatever you're going to use it for, make Loom videos and talk as you go. And then if you have Loom for the pro plan, it'll automatically make that into an SOP for you. It's amazing. So then, like, do it 3 to 5 times and then take those SOPs, feed it to ChatGPT, and say, make one SOP from all of this. Because if you do it 3 to 5 times, all the little variability that might come up is probably going to come up, at least like 90% of it, because it won't be the same every time. But there'll be some little thing that happens 1 out of the 3 times that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that last time. So do it 3 times, get the SOPs from Loom, put those into ChatGPT and say, give me one SOP that includes everything that's covered here. And then save that somewhere for your VAs. So like this is how you feed the GPT. This is how you generate the newsletters with the GPT. And then they have SOPs for that. So if any of you, who's Adriana, and I think we lost Inna, but if any of you watching this on repeat are interested in booking a call with us to learn more about how SuperDoc Tech can help you, you can book that call with us at superdoctech.com/calendar. And I created an SOP for you to know how to use this, to share it with your team. If you scan this QR code, you'll download that. And it's just a document kind of walking you through all the steps that we did today. And feel free to share the link to this as well with anyone you know who could benefit from it. I think one of the most astounding things I learned at this high level summit, one of the founders, or not founders, but one of the big like VPs at OpenAI was there. And he said around the world, only 9% of people have interacted with AI at all. And I think that was really eye-opening for me, and it helped me feel less behind. Actually, I feel actually not behind now that we've got SuperDoc Tech. But like even last year, actually, yeah, I've learned so much in the last year because last year I was at Business Mastery and my friend Ann Sung, who runs Productivity MD and is really like a thought leader, she embraces new technology all the time. She was telling me about how she uses a custom GPT. And I remember messaging her on WhatsApp afterwards to be like, hey, can you show me how to do it? And she sent me a little video that wasn't nearly as exhaustive as what we've just done here over the last hour. But it got me started and it was good enough. And so now, just a year later, now I'm all into agentic AI, which is like next level. It's crazy. But the more you play with it, the more comfortable you get and the more power you see in it. It really is, it's not replacing you, it's just amplifying your voice, which is so useful. You know, it's helping you get your knowledge, your expertise out there to more people, and that is ultimately doing more good in the world. So don't be afraid of using it. Don't be shy about using it. Don't feel like you're cheating. My It's funny, like I think the kids at my son's school are getting some messaging that's a little bit anti-AI. And I understand why, right? The teachers don't want kids who really need to first be learning the skills of how to be a writer to be getting ChatGPT to write their essays. I get it. But if he sees me using ChatGPT, he's kind of like, oh, mom, you shouldn't be using that. That's kind of cheating. And I'm like, it's not cheating. It's using the tools that are available to me. And even my daughter, she's very resistant to doing homework, and she had something where she was just like putting her head, she's like a Muppet, she like will just be like, oh, you remember that Muppet that would like, throw itself on the piano? That's my daughter with homework. And it was something like she needed to make a sentence using different propositions, and my husband was like, why don't we ask ChatGPT? And she like grabbed his phone and she was like, give me a sentence with or and but or something like that, and it gave her a sentence, and then she was like really excited to write it down. And I don't really view that as cheating. It at least got her going. It got her over that hump. Now she doesn't have access to a phone, obviously she's 8 years old, but like in certain instances, I think it's very good to use shortcuts that get the creative juices flowing and that get us to be able to do the thing. And when it comes to things like newsletters, you definitely should be sending these out regularly. This is part of what has made such a difference for Griselda. Just hopped off the call, but like she's been consistent using the systems she's created and sending out messaging to all her past patients, her current patients, her referral network, people she's done speaking gigs for in the past, and she's gotten consistent referrals and new business in the last month because of that extra step. So again, it's not that you have to reinvent the wheel or spend a ton of money on advertising, especially if you've been in business a while. You already have a network of people who know you, who trust you, who know the value that you bring. And when you have a newsletter that's going out consistently, it just helps you to stay top of mind and cut through the noise that we're all fighting to be above. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope this was helpful. We're going to start doing a weekly workshop series on different tech things that will help physicians in private practice and cash pay practice. I don't think I'm going to do it on Saturdays. I don't know, maybe I will. This has been pretty good turnout, so we'll see. But stay tuned because we're going to make it like a recurring webinar at the same time each week, and that way you'll be able to pop in and watch the replays if you can't make it. All right. All right. Thank you all.
It was super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.